what up, Long Beach? Welcome back to the one and only Long Beach Sports Talk, the only place in Long Beach to talk sports. You see what I did there? Back from a holiday vacation, this show presented by the Press-Telegram and Gazette newspapers, brought to you by Naples Rib Company, and featuring three men and a baby with a basketball Jones. That's actually going to get fixed tonight. We've come down with a severe case of the basketball Jones. I am co-sports editor JJ Fiddler, to my right.
I am Mike Basketball Jones Gardabasio, holding Vincent the Sports Baby Gardabasio, and to our right,
Tyler Hendrickson, you ain't got no wins in me casa. And I'm excited for basketball season. If you know you're going to be at a gym, you want to see the scores from the other games, make sure to follow us on Twitter at PT Gazette Sports. And that way you can keep up with all the scores, all the breaking news, the stories from the day prior, and you can chat with us. Great place.
More League boys basketball. What are the storylines? More League girls basketball. Can Poly win a national championship? And Long Beach State men's and women's basketball with a black and blue doubleheader on Thursday night that we'll preview right here on another episode of Long Beach Sports Talk. Bowl night! As you know, we record on Wednesday, and on Wednesday night, boys and girls More League basketball kicking off in Ron Palmer Pavilion. Poly and Milliken, both games back-to-back. Obviously, you can catch all of that coverage on the Press-Telegram website as well as the GazetteSports.com website, and in the Press-Telegram right now before those games, or actually before those games via tape delay. You can look at the More League boys and girls basketball previews at GazetteSports.com. Mike and Tyler and me and everybody else representing More League basketball was at Whaley Park last weekend for the photo shoot.
well, can't forget St. Anthony and Rancho Dominguez Prep, too. It seems like we're growing and growing, the basketball family here in Long Beach. Very different photo shoot than last year, I thought. I don't know if you guys felt similar. Last year, it was sort of like Rashawn Prince and Jordan Bell walked in and no one wanted to say anything to piss him off, you know? I think someone made one comment to Rashawn and he just kind of looked at him. This year, it was like, it's a competitive league. I mean, there's legitimately three teams, I think, with a real shot at the league title. And there was a lot more talk, a lot more, it was just a little bit more open. So it's kind of fun for us to see those kids mixing it up a little bit, obviously, before they take the court again indoors to do that for an actual league title.
Yeah, parity is the name of the game this year, Tyler, and it's kind of up to, I don't know, the team that imposes its will the most this year, because we've got a lot of clashing styles.
Certainly, and you know, Poly's still got to feel like the top dog because they're the defending champions. They are on quite the long More League winning streak. Let's not forget, it spans over 4 seasons. They have not lost in the More League, so it's not going to be easy. As it's a 50-game winning streak for the Jackrabbits. So whoever wants to come in, they still have to take it from Poly. I know a lot of people are expecting Compton to win it, and they are certainly a great team and probably on paper the most talented team, but you still got to go out and do it. And Milliken has made a lot of noise, and they are going to play harder than anyone to come get that title. I know Chris Francis is ready to move them up from last place to third place to maybe first place this year. Should be a lot of fun, and there's some other teams beyond that fighting for the playoffs that have played a little better than we expected in the early going.
Well, we were able to split it up. Each guy got 3 teams, each guy sitting at these tables, and it was interesting because the 3 teams that we all chose kind of had something in common. I had Milliken, Compton, and Wilson, and all 3 of those teams had very important finishes to last season. Wilson, trying to improve under first-year head coach Derek Jones, play a very emotional final game at Cabrillo, playing for one of the younger brothers of one of their teammates, Doug Harris, and they've rolled that momentum into the offseason, an exciting group of Bruins over there. And you look at Milliken, who go on their playoff run. Their final playoff game ended up being a loss, but that game meant just as much to that program as the first 2 games that they played against Gar and San Clemente in the playoffs that were huge wins, not only for that program, but for that school. And then you look at Compton, and Compton's been within a game of the finals. They've been in the semifinals for 3 of the last 4 years. They've been favorites in their bracket for the last 4 years, and they've got a group of seniors in Isaiah Bailey, Isaiah Sweeney, and Kyron Cartwright who are there with their last chance to dance. So it's interesting that I got 3 teams that kind of rolled their seasons over, or in one case, Compton trying to exercise the demons one last chance.
Well, and the More League, you certainly say, is up across the board this year. I mean, when you look at teams like Wilson and Lakewood that kind of struggled last year, Lakewood's 9-5. Wilson's obviously also off to a nice start. The thing I would say the teams that I did in common, which would be Poly, Lakewood and Cabrillo would be there's all questions about depth. And they sort of have differently constructed rosters. Cabrillo's got 2 guys back that were elite scorers last year in Saquon Walker and Antonio Singleton. Poly's got 3 guys who were sort of role players last year that have stepped up this year in KJ Fagan, Chris Sullivan, and Cameron Morrell. And, Lakewood also has some guys that have stepped up. But the question is sort of who do they have below that? And I think that's kind of going to determine how far they go this year.
For my teams, it was really the question was chemistry and inexperience, because they really have a lot to replace. I did Jordan, St. Anthony, and Rancho Dominguez Prep. For Jordan, they lost 77% of their scoring from last season. So that's a lot to bounce back from. They do have a good amount of seniors, but they just haven't seen the floor much. So they got to learn to play together and to feel comfortable at the varsity level. Same thing for St. Anthony. You lose your big 3 that they had, Eric Cooper, Kyle Benton, and Brian Wright. And then you bring in, you got some new guys that have to play together. You've had a freshman running the point while you've had some disciplinary things going on. So a lot of moving pieces for the Saints as they try to get chemistry and experience. And then for RDP, really it's Keon Johnson that returns the senior captain. But that's just the second year of their program. So obviously they have some new pieces and some inexperienced players because they've only been around for 2 seasons, but very high hopes for the Lobos that they can go a little bit farther and challenge in their division. Certainly one of the favorites to win that championship. Remember, they are in the city section. They are not in the southern section, so a different whole set of brackets, but they are in the LBC. And RDP, welcome to the map.
One thing we already mentioned, the Moore League is up a little bit. You'd have to say this year, looking across the region and the state, I think the Moore League is kind of back. And I would almost venture to say probably the best public school league in California this year. There's some legitimate contenders. And we've all talked about this public-private thing, obviously, kind of beating it to death. Nice to see basketball sort of putting the Moore League back on the map.
If you're listening to this, basketball season has already begun. Get your Jordans laced up at Press Telegram and GazetteSports.com. The Dream Team is back, baby, and you can check it out right now at PressTelegram.com. Tyler did an incredible job on the video that announced the Dream Team, and Tyler actually got a chance to talk to a few players that got some incredible distinctions that really makes a team that I'd pretty much put up against anybody in the nation.
It's a pretty good team. There's a lot of Division I talent up and down that roster, from the first team, second team, honorable mention, a lot of great players, a lot of great teams that were honored. And we expect some of those guys to be playing on Sunday in the not-too-distant future.
With all due respect to the other high school girls basketball teams we cover, I don't think there's any question that the team everyone's got their eyes on are the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits, because this very well could be a national championship season. That's sort of the big question. JJ mentioned it up top. Can they get... That's the only thing Carl Buggs doesn't have. Mm-hmm. He's got 5 Division I state championships, but no national championships, and this really could be that year, Tyler.
It's looking that way. We've seen them in person and at practice, and they look the realness. And we saw them, let's keep in mind, without 2 of their best players, who become eligible today in Lajane Drummer and Imani Jackson, going to UCLA and Michigan respectively. Very high-level recruits, especially Drummer, who's one of the top 8 players in the nation. And there's only one team ahead of Poly in the country right now, according to Max Preps. And there's 2 teams ahead in USA Today. One of them's Mater Dei, who Poly will certainly see again this season. And it's this team from Missouri, Incarnate Word Academy from St. Louis. And they're undefeated, but if Poly wins out the rest of the year, which is obviously a tough task in California, it puts them in position to lay claim to a natty this year, certainly.
But you definitely, for them to win a national championship, they have to win out. So you kind of assume, if it's a possibility, that they're going to have beaten Mater Dei. So that Incarnate Word team in Missouri is the team to watch if you're national title watching for the Jackrabbits. Their big game is going to be on Thursday against Regis Jesuit, a nationally ranked team that Poly's already beaten. That's a very losable game, and if they do lose it, it puts Poly really in the driver's seat for that national championship.
Yeah, Regis Jesuit is 6th in that Max Preps Excellent 25. Regis Jesuit, a team that Poly did beat at the Nike TOC. So you do have to do some scoreboard watching if you're a Jackrabbit fan, but also handle business, and things should take care of themselves. But they are going to be so much fun to watch. I mean, just loaded with talent. Potential. I mean, we have not seen a team this talented since ever.
Since the 08-09 Poly girls team that had 3 eventual McDonald's All-Americans and 11 Division I players. But this is a similarly talented team to that team. Carl Bugg said he put them 1B to their 1A.
I have to mention they would probably have to beat Mater Dei twice, right? Because they would have to do it in the CIF and then they would have to do it in state.
You would expect that because I think Mater Dei and Poly, I would say, are the 2 clear-cut best teams in Southern California for sure.
And you also have to mention that you mentioned Drummer and Jackson. You know, that's not something that Carl Buggs and the Poly girls basketball team has had to do very often, get those transfers in mid-season. Something last year we saw a lot of local teams, especially on the boys' side, struggle with that. They get one thing going, they figure out a rhythm, then they've got more pieces to put into that puzzle, and then they have to figure it out almost all over again. Of course, if we're going to pick one coach in local girls basketball to figure that out, probably pick Carl Buggs.
Well, and they've got some time here with league play where not necessarily going to be the most challenged. Milliken certainly always the toughest test every year, but they've got time to fix those things and also have some pre-playoff matchups with Linwood and Windward. So some good tests,
Those will be the
but
final
very
tune-ups.
winnable games. Those will be the final tune-ups. Windward is at the Ron Palmer Pavilion, a game that you definitely want to go see. Watch Jordan Canada play from Windward, the point guard going to UCLA. She is electrifying.
Everybody's been talking about this. This Auburn fan put $100 on the Tigers before the season to win the national championship. 500 to 1. He then has to wait a month after that SEC championship to find out whether or not his team is going to win and win him 50 grand. The question is, it's your team. You put your money on your team in the beginning of the year just because that's what some people do. Do you hedge your bet? Do you put money on Florida State to then make sure that somehow you're going to win some money this year?
Yes, because I have bills. So I understand the allegiance and all that stuff, but if I could guarantee that I was going to make enough money to support my family for a little while, I would do that.
You would just without question just tell everybody?
I would not even question it.
Even if somebody
And I would
came
tell,
to you?
Yeah, I would tell everyone proudly, and if they criticized it, I'd tell them to give me $20,000 for my kids' college.
But you don't know, well, I mean, the odds wouldn't have been that good on Florida State.
The odds wouldn't have been good on Florida State, but you could figure out a way to bet $9,999 and at least win something, right? You could at least win something. Now, I would tell everyone. I would tell everybody that I'm riding. Everybody thinks that JJ's riding with his team, but secretly, my uncle dropped a solid 10 note down there to make sure that JJ came out the door with something, at least something.
I don't know. Maybe I would just be more optimistic. I don't know. Maybe I would. It depends.
You're guessing.
Maybe I should put 100
You're
on Tennessee
deciding
next year.
between. You're deciding between $40,000 and $10,000 or $50,000 and nothing.
Yeah.
You're already letting it ride, maybe. He had to feel like they were a team of destiny, wouldn't he?
No, you don't, because it's his team. You bet on your team every year. That seems like this type of guy. $100, 500 to 1. It's not the first time he's done that.
Well, it's probably the first time they've been 500 to 1 in a while. Let's be honest. It's just they had a historically bad year last year.
So, do you do it?
It's tough to say from not being in that position.
Now, cop outs.
Ryan
Tennessee is undefeated in BCS championship games, so I probably wouldn't feel the need.
Ryan Leaky Pipes Thies actually came up to this last year with he had a bet. I believe it was on the Ravens. He had a bet, and it's not his team or anything, but he had this in the NFL.
That's different. That's different.
Well, it's just to
If
me,
it's not your team, you absolutely hedge your bet,
no,
right?
I mean, it's just money, man. Like I love the 49ers, but me making money off them winning or losing has nothing to do with how they're playing. Whereas me having money or not having money has a lot to do with how much money I've got. You know what I mean?
No, I don't
understand
that. Black and blue rivalry in the mid tonight. Thursday night, Long Beach State men's and women's basketball taking on UC Irvine, part of the Black and Blue rivalry series. First one, 5 p.m. The women kick it off. Long Beach State coming in on a winning streak, trying to make some noise in the Big West.
49ers are 8-6, second straight year over 500 going into league play, and have a matchup they should be pretty comfortable in, taking on UC Irvine at the mid, like you said, 5 p.m. The 49ers, man, they have been exciting to watch, and it's the freshmen that have really been carrying them, JJ. Didn't really know what to expect, but we're seeing performances not just good for freshmen, but good for just overall in the conference. And, you know, Maddie Montgomery, Anna Kim had great games last time out against Denver, but Raven Benton's really been the story of the preseason, hasn't she?
Oh, she's absolutely the story of the preseason. Strongest offhand dribble since Crystal McCutcheon.
That's saying something.
That is saying something, folks. Raven Benton plays the game with a veteran-like poise, I think is the best way you can say, if you're looking for something outside the stat box, because she's filmed the stat box as well.
I think the best way to say it, JJ, is to say that's so Raven.
Thank you,
that could really mean something by the time she leaves, because you mentioned Crystal McCutcheon. She could be the best Long Beach State women's basketball player since McCutcheon.
Yeah.
She's averaging a team best 14.5 points a game, a team best 5.5 rebounds per game, but she's only playing 21.5 minutes. So she's playing a little more than half the game going into the season, and she wasn't as dominant early on. Has only started 6 games, so it feels like she might just be getting better and finding her footing to the point where if she continues to play the way she's been playing the last few games, could contend as one of the best players in the whole conference. Not freshman of the year, but could be player of the year if she keeps going at this pace. And the only freshman to win Big West Player of the Year, Erin Buescher at UC Santa Barbara. She won it in 1998, went on to a 9-year career in the WNBA. So not trying to put Raven in that category just yet, but it would be some impressive territory, and she's on the right path, certainly.
Oh, definitely on the right path. That game at 5 o'clock. The second game, the men's contest at 8 p.m. Long Beach State taking on a UC Irvine team that has 3 7-footers, 5 players that are 6'10 or taller, and 6'7 freshmen, a name that is alphabet soup.
Well, you mentioned that the women sort of a comfortable way to start the conference. Men, not so much. They get right into it with one of the conference favorites on opening night.
Yeah, the conference favorites, according to the preseason coaches bowl, those anteaters, and Will Davis II, who just loves to eat against the 49ers, as he did last year in the Big West Conference tournament, as did all the UC Irvine anteaters, as they upset Long Beach State. So Long Beach State with a little bit of revenge on the mind, but they've got some more guns this time, namely Tyler Lamb, junior transfer from UCLA. We've been talking about him since he came back and scored 20 off the bench against USC to help Long Beach State get their first win over a Pac-12 opponent since they beat those Trojans at home in 1999. He then bounced back with a career-high 29 points against Montana State Billings in a 7-point victory, and then he entered the starting lineup, scored 17 against Nevada, and then matched that with a team-high 17 at Missouri. Long Beach State fell at Missouri, but put forth a valiant effort. Mike Caffey having a good game there. And something to watch here. Long Beach State turned the ball over an average of 15 times in their first 5 games. They went 1-4. They're now averaging 10 turnovers per game since that, and they're much better than 1-4. Keep an eye on ball control in yet another chapter of a black and blue rivalry. That's it. That's all. There ain't no more. Another episode of Long Beach Sports Talk in the books. Feels good to be back in 2014. Winter season officially underway. Boy, it comes back with a bang. We've got basketball, soccer, water polo, wrestling, all stacked up. A huge Thursday, so make sure you go to both websites on Friday.
I just couldn't be more excited. We went this entire episode without talking about that Broncos-Chargers game that's coming up on Sunday.
We're going to be talking enough about it on Sunday. We're going to be talking about that on Sunday. For everybody involved with the Press Telegram and the Gazette newspapers here in Long Beach, for all of Long Beach sports, thank you. For Mike, for Tyler, for JJ, for Vinny, for everybody else involved with this show,
For Peyton, for Frank Gore.
We'll see you in the stands this weekend, y'all.
Willis.
Take care. San Diego Superchargers.